We're the Lexus of the Chinese market.
Then what's Toyota?
I'm out. The map of Kazakhstan, then there's a bit of fog and it just appears in Kazakhstan. Trending for us is the 933 SDLG loader. Someone's out there using an excavator to pop beer bottle caps, for instance. Well, our specific heavy machinery market is a bit more closed off, I guess. And it's the same for spare parts. We're actually implementing bit tricks there right now. Even when they're trading, yeah, trading spare parts, you have to go through a person to find the price. We don't have anything open like Caspi where you log in and everything's listed clearly.
Still like that, huh?
Yeah, we want to break that mold this year.
When a company decides to invest heavily in specialized equipment, it's not just a purchase, it's an investment decision with a 7 to 10-year horizon that says a lot about how a business views capital. Today, our guest is Siram Iskakov from Savolo Engineering Machinery, a man who sees these decisions from the inside every single day. Siram, welcome.
Hello, thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here.
You're listening to Business Kazakhstan, an xChief Central Asia media project on Mikhail, and we're getting started. For those who aren't really familiar with such an unusual field as specialized equipment, what exactly does the heavy machinery market look like, using Kazakhstan as an example? And how big is it, and how is it actually structured?
The Kazakhstani market, basically, if you count by population, say for 20 million people, it's not considered such a large market overall. Since Kazakhstan is a resource extracting country, there's naturally a demand for it. There's a very high demand for specialized equipment. Overall, looking at sales, for example, our company sells 2,000 units of equipment per year. That's roughly enough for us to compete among the top 5 major companies in Kazakhstan. If we look back, in the beginning, of course, there were times when there was a lack of trust in Chinese heavy machinery. So, just like the car market, the heavy machinery market was also a bit skeptical of our equipment. But over the entire period of experience and sales, we've already proven ourselves that Savalo with the SDLG and LGMG brands is slowly taking its piece of the pie. The demand is definitely there, and our customers' trust is also growing. Plus, there are other aspects, like service and spare parts. Well, we'll get to that later. A lot of work is being done in that area too.
Many people never even stop to really think about the true scale of things,
Uh huh.
shall we say, the demand. The thing is, one thing is ordinary everyday cars, sedans, coupes, and, hatchbacks. What else? Crossovers are the most popular now. We see them, they're numbered in the millions, they're everywhere we go, just all over the place, everywhere, everywhere. But with special equipment, we see it very rarely. I'll be honest, and maybe I'm not the only one who notices this, that, for example, a construction site starts somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like nothing happened. Then suddenly, dump trucks are driving around, a crane is already up. I've never actually seen how a crane appears, for instance. So, for us, for the ordinary residents of the country, it looks like something unusual, and no one ever knows where special equipment comes from. It's like it just appeared by magic and that's it, in huge quantities. So, how extensive is the demand for equipment really, if you could explain that here with RAM?
Hey. You know, I've also traveled through our cities, and before, I didn't notice it at all. For me too, special equipment was just something with Chinese writing on it or whatever. But once I started working here, I naturally began to keep an eye on our equipment. In Almaty, for example, there's a lot of construction going on. You know how it is. They're breaking through a street somewhere or laying pipes over there. I see our loaders everywhere. Excavators, our wheel excavators. That's what's working around the city. some minor road construction work, and the rest, of course, is invisible. Why? Because that's the mining sector. That's located somewhere out in the quarries. There, we prove ourselves through quality and completing tasks, saving on things, and so on. It's not visible to the average eye. So it depends on what it is, as they say. In the city, it might be some minor road construction work.
So it's still not on the same scale as regular cars,
Right.
but the demand is still huge.
Yeah. For example, if you go to Shymkent, that's our main buyer for loaders. They buy more than anyone else in Kazakhstan because there are a lot of private owners there.
Mm-hmm.
So one private owner, say, bought a 1.8 cubic meter loader. He worked it, made some money, and now he's buying a second one. And naturally, word of mouth spreads, and they're already, in terms of specialized equipment, is also divided by market, right? The loader market, the excavator market. And in that regard, Shamkent is in first place for loaders.
But why so many loaders for one city? Well, what's there? What are they building there?
Well, there's a lot of construction and many private owners.
But not quarries.
No.
No? Ah, interesting. Is there a top list of cities by demand?
The top is, of course, Karaganda. Then there's Ekibastus, where coal is mined, also quarries. Where else? Astana buys a lot from us. Shymkent, accordingly. The rest is over there. Ust-Kamenogorsk, Semey, Petropavl, and Kostanay. Well, in some places there's more of a focus on loaders with an agricultural focus with various attachments. In some places they buy more excavators, like in Astana, for example. In other places they buy more loaders. Right. And of course, the West, Atarau, Oktob, there are also many places where our equipment is popular. Right. Well, basically, all over Kazakhstan, it varies from place to place.
This is going to be a strange question.
Uh-huh.
What's in the mainstream right now? The most popular model? Okay, what's considered. We all know, and I think this is quite subjective on my part, but for example, my personal opinion, based on the internet, is that what's hyped right now, specifically hyped, is equipment like, say, BMW, for instance.
Uh-huh.
So, what's hyped for you?
For us, the hype is the SDLG 933 loader, 1.8 cubic meters, and the 3-in-1 excavator. The backhoe loader, it's a loader and it's an excavator. It even has a pallet fork so it can lift and place pallets. So these types are basically all-arounders, in short. These are our best sellers, you could say.
What's also interesting is that a dealer is always between the manufacturer and the buyer. That's not a simple position to be in. And the question always arises, what do you see from a dealer's perspective that neither the manufacturer nor the client usually sees? What is that sacred something right here that only you can see?
Yes, we're like a bridge between the buyer and the manufacturer. We often talk to our clients, so we understand where, for example, the equipment might fail or where something could be improved. And for our part, we pass our data to the factory and they try to implement it for the next production run to address these shortcomings, making things easier for our clients. Our company's main advantage is that we always make decisions very quickly. Always. We try, whenever a client raises an issue, we take it straight to management and try to resolve it right then and there. Any issue at all.
Well, let's say I bought this loader.
Voilà.
For example, the one you mentioned, the 3-in-1.
Uh-huh.
A light bulb burns out.
Right.
I say, "Sir, my light bulb's broken." And it seems it wasn't very good.
Mm-hmm.
So you quickly report it and say, your light bulb is broken.
No, what I mean is, we have departments, of course. There's service and a spare parts department. We provide a warranty on our heavy equipment, just like with passenger cars. Well, it all depends on the type of equipment.
I was trying to understand the speed of it. You said we can solve this problem quickly.
Inside every piece of equipment, there's a QR code that the client can scan to submit a request. The request first, of course, contacts service, and they receive it and respond promptly. They give the client an answer. Then, if it's a warranty case, we provide warranty services, so to speak, to fix the error or problem.
I think that many people in our audience have, at one time or another, often come across or encountered the word warranty in different situations.
Tout à fait.
When you buy any device, even a smartphone or whatever, if I could, I'd like to clarify.
Uh-huh.
What exactly is this unusual word warranty? Because many know it, many hear it, but rarely use it. Even I, personally, very rarely use it because the warranty is usually quite short. That is, if the equipment is good anyway, the warranty usually expires, and then what do we do? So the question is, what about heavy equipment?
For the warranty to be valid, there are certain procedures to follow. The warranty mainly covers major components, the gearbox, the engine, so the machine keeps working. We provide the warranty if the client performs proper maintenance, servicing, meaning they use the right oil, original filters, and all the necessary consumables. And if they do all that correctly, then we guarantee that it won't break down. If it does break down in that case, then on our part, since you followed all the procedures, we'll either replace the engine or repair it. That's how the warranty works, to keep your equipment from sitting idle. The warranty's void if you don't use our oil or our filters. The warranty's already voided, so to speak, in this case. There are some moments when you bought new equipment, and some minor flaws also occur. If this is identified, we accordingly also fix it. No problems there either. We do all of that. So the warranty is this very procedure. So a car is, well, so that it drives, gets you there, performs its functions, right? Special equipment's the same thing. So that you work at the quarry, do the job, and get your money. There. And we sorta try to make sure this process doesn't stop.
And the source of the warranty in general, well, you have to desire to give a warranty to someone. And then also have, let's say, the responsibility and the strength to follow through on this warranty.
But,
So, who is your source?
so the source of the warranty.
Yes, manufacturer?
Yes, the manufacturer, the factory. The whole warranty, we, for example, have GPS units installed on some special equipment. Then we have a service department that, well, when the process of changing oil and filters happens, it's all recorded, photographed, it's all taken into account. And then a certain database for the client is created. Right.
Uh-huh.
And if that's not there, accordingly, there's no warranty either. But if everything is properly documented, then we process it all and send it to the factory, from where our, well, sort of help from them comes. So if something's needed, attachments, well, that is, engines, gearboxes, their consumables, it's all supplied by the factory here. And from here, we distribute it to the clients.
Such an awkward question about supplied here. How do you supply it? By train or by plane?
Uh,
What is the path and, let's say, the roadmap? What's the roadmap for this supply of yours?
all spare parts are supplied in containers, mostly via the railroad.
Uh-huh. So it turns out there's a certain city with a manufacturer. Do you have one manufacturer or several?
So we have two manufacturers,
Uh-huh. And what city?
Shandong,
And there.
and one more. I don't remember the second. Shandong is the main one.
Yeah. And from there, right by railroad, directly to Almaty?
Well, I haven't actually seen it,
But it appears.
but I've heard. Well, I think it definitely goes by rail. Yes.
It turns out, just as we don't see special equipment in the city, it's exactly the same. I haven't seen it, but it appeared.
No, well, I was at the temporary storage warehouse, so to speak. And it was in a container.
And what happened next?
No, before. I don't know. Yeah, how it was before, I don't know.
But the main thing is that we know at least the country.
Yeah, yeah. In my imagination, it's like a map of Kazakhstan, then a bit of fog, and then it just appears in Kazakhstan.
And through a giant phone.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So, overall, when it comes to your work, what surprises people the most? I mean, you work and interact with so many people, both colleagues and, well, clients, right? And what surprises them most when they find out how the market works from the inside?
Let me start by saying that since 2006, I've been working for the man
You know?
who was directly involved in the process of road construction and, at that particular time, also went ahead and purchased several KAMAZ dump trucks for the project.
Uh-huh.
Back then, for some reason, KAMAZ trucks were really popular.
It was the mainstream.
Yeah. And he bought 105 of them, 105 KAMAZ trucks, plus he had Hitachi excavators. And then, a few years later, Chinese trucks gradually started appearing. Why? Because they carry more. Inside, there are comfortable conditions for the driver, and they break down less than KAMAZ trucks. Well, maybe it's not right for me to name specific brands here, but the fact was, even for private owners, it was profitable to buy Chinese made dump trucks. Why? Because they hauled more and they earned more. So they paid for themselves, so to speak, yeah. Plus repairs. Everyone who drove Russian dump trucks complained about always being covered in dirt and oil. And they drove them without any air conditioning inside back then. And the Chinese were already ahead of the game in that regard. I think the main thing that surprises me as a resident of Kazakhstan is how the Chinese are advancing technologically in terms of their product range. Over 20 years, there's been massive progress. Actually, SDLG is specialized equipment based on Volvo.
You mean?
Our equipment is relatively more expensive than other Chinese brands, but we compete with European machinery. We can compete, and our clients compare them. And they conclude that it's better to buy a Chinese SDLG than some expensive European brands.
And what's the biggest surprise in one word? A wow effect or what?
Like, can the Chinese really do that?
Ah, yes.
I think that's the main thing.
Uh-huh.
And there are still people who don't know about it.
About what?
That SDLG is a brand.
I thought not everyone knows that Chinese dump trucks even exist.
Not everyone. I, for example, compare SDLG to Lexus. So, we're the Lexus of the Chinese market.
Uh-huh.
Right, there's Lexus, of course, and other brands.
Then what's Toyota?
I don't really know. No. I'm actually not allowed to mention or name any other brands at all. But when it comes to the Chinese segment, honestly, we're definitely the best.
Uh-huh.
By the way, we're the only company that holds competitions.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we have. Operators come from different regions. Well, the most advanced ones. Someone, for instance, uses an excavator to open beer bottle caps. Then various contests with balloons, they work with buckets.
How often are they held?
Annually.
Annually? Once a year.
Once a year, yes.
Will you do it twice?
I don't know yet. But this year we held them in different cities.
Oh. Wow. And which city had the most visitors? Oh.
I don't know the stats, but as always, Shymkent is very active.
You've got me curious. What are they building so actively there?
Well, they have a lot of private owners, as I said. They work for themselves. The guys are very enterprising. If you've been to Shymkent, you know what kind of city it is, how active and advanced the people are. Several people participate. Most of them, I think, are from there.
I wonder if Alata were built in Shimkan, it would probably be finished by now.
Probably, yes. Well, they finished the Sena extension. The former mayor from Shymkent came to us. They say there's a road here that couldn't be opened since Tazmagambatov's time. And after 18 years, he opened it this year, for example. That's also an indicator, right?
Yes, yes.
So Shymkent gets total respect and props.
What's the difference between special equipment and regular equipment? There's a difference between, say, a tractor and something that's specifically classified as special equipment.
Uh huh.
What's the main difference? How do we tell them apart? Look, we're people who don't even notice equipment in the city. Either it's hiding, or it's in tunnels, or it just spawns somewhere, but it somehow moves around the city. So the question is, how do we actually correctly distinguish types of equipment?
In what?
How do we avoid making a mistake?
That's a theoretical question, of course. To me, equipment is what we see around the city, I guess. Those are dump trucks, loaders, backhoe loaders that perform anything from small to medium tasks. Special equipment is more for specific types of work, like quarries, as I said. The same excavator doesn't just dig, right? It can have a hydraulic hammer, you can attach one, and then you can break rocks or whatever. Large mining dump trucks, the 70 to 100-ton ones, they also work in places where we can't even go in a regular car, in the quarries. They haul such large loads that aren't needed in the city. Or they can't drive in the city because they're so heavy, right? They just destroy the asphalt and that's it. Yeah. Well, I imagine that special equipment is for some special heavy work. Equipment that's probably closer to the people, so to speak.
How does a company come to the decision to buy equipment for hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even millions? And what starts this process?
It all comes down to demand. At the moment, it's getting to the point where customers are ordering directly from the factory. I mean, they can't keep up with the supply. They're already putting money down in advance, waiting in line for their special equipment to arrive, for example. In the beginning, of course, everything started small. Of course, we also brought in one loader, liked it, and ordered two more. In a geometric progression, gradually experience was gained, and accordingly, some equipment became more popular in terms of sales. So the company has reached the point where we have the equipment in stock for the most part. It's not like we're keeping it somewhere in a bonded warehouse. No, we have our own large, huge territory, and it's in stock. You can come, buy it, and take the equipment. So, in that sense, we have an advantage.
Well, the main thought of your management is, we'll buy it. Or don't you ask them why? But,
No, why? It all depends on demand, after all. If there's demand, accordingly, we provide the supply.
but like, I heard, like, with the iPhone, a new model came out. Let's buy 10. No, such thing.
There's no such thing, of course.
It doesn't happen just for interest.
No. Until the client himself provides a down payment, we of course won't bring all this in.
Here's a somewhat immodest question. There's a belief, and in general, some facts, that in some companies where they sell equipment specifically for movement, employees move around on that same equipment and on their own territory. You don't move around on your equipment? What if you just hopped on a loader and whoosh, drove off?
No, we're strict about that, of course. Why? Because it's oversized special equipment after all. You have to follow safety procedures. And only the sellers of the corresponding equipment have permission to drive.
Ah, so it's like with a car. A test drive, right? To conduct?
Yes, it's the same for us.
Well, you can ask him for a ride, can't you?
We can let the operator try driving it. Yes, but with strict adherence to safety regulations.
In international practice, there are some distribution companies that have a policy
Is it?
where they install GPS chips, to track the equipment. And if the equipment suddenly goes missing, say it was being transported somewhere and got lost, not the distribution company that provides the imported equipment, but the client themselves. Like they picked it up, drove off, and lost it. Or during the work process at a quarry, it just drove off somewhere and no one saw where it went. In international practice, they contact the distribution company and say, check the GPS. Where is our equipment? What happened to it? Do you have anything like that? Any measures like those in place?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, When we sell on installment plans or through credit, we naturally install GPS and track exactly where our equipment is located. And often, there are times when we have to repossess our equipment.
Uh-huh.
It might have been purchased for a specific city, but we end up repossessing it from a completely different city. So, those things do happen, unfortunately. And sometimes GPS units are installed directly at the factory. And basically, we have access to them. We can check how many hours it's operated and where it's located. So we can basically provide that kind of information for our own use, for ourselves, not for the client. Well, for the client, just for the purpose of tracking a work process, yes. We can also provide some of that data, but clients haven't asked for it yet. Although there's also information there about fuel consumption, which is quite important for clients. Sometimes operators steal fuel, for example, and the clients can't track it. Well, we can basically track it, yeah. So GPS is also a very good tool for that purpose.
In your experience, was there a most unusual place you had to recover equipment from that had been lost?
I don't remember exactly right now, but there definitely was. Yes.
Some distributors I know actually had to recover a different kind of equipment from a swamp.
Uh huh.
Basically, a guy drove into a swamp while drunk and they arrived. Well, luckily it didn't sink. It was on the edge, but in the water.
You see?
And they pulled it right out of the swamp, found it by GPS. So, yeah, that happened.
Well, fortunately, we haven't had anything like that. But we did have a case where it was supposed to be in the south,
You did it.
but the equipment ended up way out west instead. That happened, basically.
Well, they got their compass a little mixed up.
Yes. Well, no. I mean, it's. Why did we start looking for it? Because he had already stopped paying for the equipment. Then we started looking, and it turned out it was taken for one job, but ended up in a completely different place, being used by others.
Oh, completely different people?
Well, it was some like that.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right. And so we had to go and get it back from there.
Did you go yourself?
No, we have a special team for that. A department, lawyers. They handle all of that.
Just how do you recover equipment that's gone missing? In my head, I imagine a special ops team flying in on a helicopter in ninja suits. Like, okay, where's our tractor? Where's our dump truck?
We see. Selling heavy machinery isn't just about the sale, it's also about transporting it. There are people who handle pre sale preparation, there are people who handle, well, debt collection, so to speak, spare parts, and maintenance. So it's a very extensive process, which is why there are dedicated departments for every stage.
How often does a client actually know what kind of equipment they need at the start of the conversation? How often do they make mistakes based on their, let's say, technical background when choosing?
It happens quite often with loaders. There are loaders designed, well, the tires are designed for specific terrain, like rocky surfaces, so to speak. They're hard rock surfaces, right? Which are tougher. You need the right tires for that, and the frame needs to be higher and other things to avoid damaging the machine. So you also, well, you have to consider the surface where the work is being done. In that regard, yes, we do need to help the client carefully select the right equipment, making sure the tires are truly suitable for their specific needs and that the bucket is equipped with extra reinforcement for added durability. This way, we can be confident that everything is properly matched and ready for the job. With teeth, some have reinforced teeth, some have a reinforced blade. Where teeth aren't needed, for instance, they just install and reinforce a blade. So, with loaders, this is a very common occurrence. With excavators, too, there are long reach excavators that work, for example, when you need to dig a trench somewhere very deep, for instance. Like when, remember, there was that flood in Adderall? The flood in the north. That's where those our long reach excavators were used, digging and handling those kinds of tasks, so to speak. Right. So, in that sense, it's crucial for the client to be well informed about their specific needs.
And how does a client justify such a purchase within the company? Well, you've probably heard such conversations, like a client came in, they talked to him, and all that. And the client tells his people, we need to buy here. We need to get it right here at this price. Right here. What kind of calculation does he even make? For what purpose, right? And, well, should he even be doing it at all?
Yes, of course. Some companies, some managers, sort of consult. They consult with their operators. They have a chief mechanic, right? Exactly. They know from experience what will be better and more comfortable for them. Of course, comfort is also a significant factor when it's your workplace. You're a loader operator. If there's air conditioning inside, if there's music or something else, you'll be comfortable. If you have the seat, most importantly, right, with good pneumatics, for example, then you'll be comfortable working. And plus, a significant factor is if it doesn't break down as often as others. For instance, management consults with mechanics, with operators, and then they select specific equipment for them.
So he himself would never to say, well, let's get it. No.
This is a case where it's like, there's listening management. If it's management that listens and is accommodating, then they will do that. There are, of course, others. Well, there are companies that buy according to their budget. That's their budget. That's it. They'll buy it, and that's that. For less money, but a different brand, for example. There are such cases too.
And again, speaking of the actual spending, right, of these companies that choose where their certification versus those who just say, give us the equipment, what ends up being more expensive in practice? The wrong model, skimping on the configuration, or skimping on the service?
If you compare service, if for example the client doesn't care, right? He starts using his own oil, puts in whatever filter he has there, and after a while, he might already lose a major component like the engine from the large units. If his engine breaks and then he tries to claim warranty, they'll refuse him. So that's already about 10 million in damages, roughly. So he tried to save some 50 to 100,000, roughly speaking, but it can turn into tens of millions. In terms of configuration, too. For example, he took a regular loader, but he has a quarry, so he could already run into trouble with the tires. I mean, I don't know, those tires aren't cheap either. For instance, one tire can cost 5 or 600,000, and he could just in 2 or 3 months completely shred it right there. So if he didn't get the right configuration, in that sense, he's also gonna lose money.
Uh,
Right, or the frame could get damaged. I mean, if the clearance is low and he's working with large rocks, then naturally that could happen too. Well, choosing the configuration in the model is basically the same thing
EV?
because, like a loader, if there's an F at the end, it means it's for a quarry, specifically for quarry work. An H is more for other things, like road construction work.
Mhm.
So it's the model, you have to choose it correctly here, based on the tasks being performed.
XChief?
So if you make the wrong choice here, you might suffer in terms of getting the job done.
Uh-huh.
Service, as I said, if you didn't maintain it right, you could run into trouble with your components. I mean, the engine, or even if you don't change the hydraulic oil on time, it just won't dig.
Mhm. So what's riskier?
Everything. It's all risky.
Well, one of them must be worse.
The biggest risk is service.
Service is riskier. Uh-huh. It would be cheaper to just buy a new model than to struggle with repairs like that.
Yeah, millions. The absolute worst thing for our client is downtime, when the equipment is idle, because he's losing 70 to 100,000 ting a day. A single day of downtime can cost him that much.
Mhm. And also, the oil is sitting there, everything is sitting, the engine is sitting.
Well, yeah, the machine isn't working, the equipment isn't working, it's not generating profit. So, time is very important for our client.
Now, here's an interesting point. We all understand these concepts, like for production, for transportation, for mining. But have you ever had a client who bought something just for the fun of it? I mean, there are people who just enjoy driving stuff like that, so they buy it. Any like that?
No, why not? Take Shimkent, for example. Like I said, those are private owners. Here's the thing, so to speak. You're a private owner. Let's say you decided that you want to work on a loader. So you'll be driving it yourself and you put out an ad. Someone might ask you to haul away trash from their property or something like that. Construction waste, I mean, or to dig out a foundation pit, something like that. And you drive it yourself. You've tried it yourself and you already know what the advantages of this equipment are, right? And then, once you've worked with it for a while, you go ahead and buy yourself a better version for your own satisfaction, a better package, so to speak. Say you had a 1.8 and you decide to buy a 3 cubic meter one, which is better, more powerful, and so on, like a car basically. And it has a much more comfortable cabin inside.
Instead of something like a Cobalt or a Toyota, a person buys,
A Mercedes.
no, not a Mercedes, he buys a UAZ
Oh, right.
and drives it around Shimcat.
Well, sure, someone might have, say, 10 million, but they're just a little bit short. But our company basically offers installment plans, and you can, for example, over 6 months, spread it out, complete some tasks and jobs, and he can basically pay off the purchase within a year.
By the way, that's a good point about installment plans. We don't have many guests who work in, well, essentially retail, right? And regarding installment plans, how much of a real thing is that? How, let's say, progressively are they gaining popularity or, on the contrary, losing it?
In general, installment plans are a very convenient option for our clients, and we are one of the few who provide these installment plans. With us, you can get specialized equipment on a 6 month installment plan, that is, with a down payment.
Is six the maximum?
Maximum is six, yes.
Like Caspi 24 for you.
No, there's leasing.
Leasing too.
There's leasing, yes. You can take it for longer through leasing. I can't say exactly for how long. In that regard, even our own competitors send clients to us. Yes, because we have installment plans and the client wants that,
And they don't.
and they don't.
How does a client rationally choose between Chinese, Japanese, and European equipment? After all, it's a difficult choice for them.
The choice is difficult, of course. It all depends on the budget. Accordingly, European and Japanese ones are more expensive, while Chinese ones are relatively cheaper. There's the concept of price to quality, depending on what you can afford. There are those who won't compromise, who can't. They're used to working with European equipment, and that's it, meaning he won't choose anything else. There are probably people like that too. And there are those who can save a bit on the budget and buy a good Chinese machine, so to speak.
Where does a premium brand actually justify its markup? And where is it more of an emotional and irrational choice?
Well, I don't know exactly where. Well, it all depends on the tasks, on the company's goals. If a company is international and there are international standards they must meet, then they, accordingly, work with specific brands. And that's it. I mean, everything is set up there. No need to reinvent the wheel, and they don't really deviate from their standards.
But what if we take a local business?
Local business.
Like in Shimkent, for example, they come to you and they have a choice too.
Yes, Scheimkent, of course, will look for ways to save money, how to do everything right, and I think they'll choose our brand.
What's the general understanding of how Chinese machinery conquered our market? Specifically, the Kazakhstan market first, Was it due to price, quality, or something else?
For instance, dump trucks. Dump trucks, they've really taken a strong hold in our market because they perform beyond their specifications, meaning they haul more, drive more, and there are good conditions inside for the operator, for the driver. Why not get, say, a Chinese dump truck instead of another one? Well, a European one naturally will be more expensive. Spare parts. There are plenty of spare parts in Kazakhstan. I've been working in this market since 2012, and over that time, the number of suppliers has also increased, from small ones to some very large suppliers. So it's very convenient in that regard, too. There are always spare parts of any quality. There's top quality, there's mid range, and there's cheaper stuff. It's convenient that way. I mean, when you buy machinery, you're already thinking about spare parts, right? So that everything is accessible and easy. Service centers have also increased now. Service stations have popped up that repair them. So, in that sense, all the conditions have been created specifically for Chinese heavy machinery.
Looking at the current picture, what does it really show us in terms of a 6 to 12-year outlook if we take a moment to look ahead?
Well, our company represents the Shandong plant, and every year some new products come out. This year, because of the events in Iran, people have started thinking that we need those same electric loaders. Demand for them has begun to emerge, and large companies are showing interest. Currently, we have electric excavators and other machines that can operate without a driver, for instance. There are
Autonomous?
autonomous, yes.
So it's not just without an internal combustion engine, it's also
No, there are ones with internal combustion engines too.
and also autonomous?
There are autonomous ones, yes. You can sit in an office, set up a screen, and manage the production. There are 100-ton hybrid dump trucks. By the way, they are very agile and fast compared to diesel engines. And a loader that runs for 8 hours on electricity, which charges very quickly and has its own stations. And there's already interest in them right now. And I think that in the next 2 to 3 years, they will already be at production sites. If you also consider that artificial intelligence is being added, then in the future, it's possible that in quarries, these machines will work without any operators at all, producing on their own and, I don't know, delivering everything themselves. Well, I think that's already a reality.
Poor people are sitting there listening and saying, look, they're the ones
No, why not?
taking away our jobs.
Maybe they'll be the ones sitting there managing it, right?
Well, actually, yeah, that's an option. But what will the people in Shimkent do then if everything's replaced by autonomous machines?
Well, nobody's getting rid of private homes.
They'll still be able to buy new miles.
Where the human factor is needed. I meant in large deposits. I think that's where everything's headed.
Not necessary for small ones.
Don't see it, small ones?
Let people drive.
Yes, where there are fewer people, safety protocols will actually be followed even better. So, in the near future, such changes are possible. On our part, we are also moving toward market openness. We are developing our own marketplace, and we'll be launching it as early as next year. And ordering spare parts while sitting at home with a cup of coffee using your phone will be very easy.
Will there be an option to try driving through that?
Well, in the future, probably yes,
That would be a cool feature.
but you can definitely monitor it already. Yeah, so you turn on the GPS on your equipment, see how much it's consuming, and how long it's been working. Things like that are already.
And can you see, like, from the camera where it's going?
Well, probably, yes, you can. Yeah. Right, the GPS should allow you to connect. So, I mean, it's basically a matter of time.
A major purchase is always a small version of how a company thinks about its future, how it counts money, how much it trusts the market, and where it sees risk. Serum, thank you very much for participating in such an extensive dialogue.
Thank you. I hope we'll talk again.
This was Mikhail Svetly. You've been listening to Business Kazakhstan, an xChief Central Asia media project. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and all podcast platforms. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss new episodes. Until next time.